Tonight's species comes in a variety of sizes, but what I like best is that you can fish for them in 6 feet of water out of a 16-foot boat, and when you hook him, most likely he's going to soar 6 feet high. And if you're lucky, he can be 6 feet long or bigger. Tonight we're talking about the Silver King, aka Tarpon, here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, powered by Harbor Trucks and presented by Yamaha.
Thanks for joining us for another week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report with Captain Rick Murphy and I, show 401. Yes. Okay, Rick, it's May and we've had some wacky wet weather across the state, but that won't slow us down this Mother's Day weekend or from getting that tarpon bite, right?
You're absolutely right, Brie. And I didn't want to have a live audience for this one because I get so excited talking about the tarpon that I don't think I could handle the two at the same time.
I don't think you could either.
No, ma'am.
No. Well, I know Dave is going to have some Silver King specials for us at the CCA workbench today, aren't you, Dave?
No, I'm not, Brie.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm going to let Rick do it because he's caught way more tarpon than me. We're going to talk about catching tarpon with lures. We haven't done that in the past much, so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Well, he's really excited about it, I can tell.
Yes, he is.
He's got his tarpon stance on.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Maybe I should put my coasters on to see if I can see one.
There you go.
How y'all
go
look?
Look.
Yes.
Okay, kicking off tarpon season with us tonight is Captain Ronnie Houston in the Bell Southwest region. Let's hear it, Ronnie.
Well, starting off in the Bell Southwest region, we're going to do something a little different in regards to tarpon. Logs and patterns. So right now is the best time of year to catch tarpon by just fishing the outer Gulf Islands and passes, anywhere from Lossman's River to Coon Key, the beaches from Marco Island to Stump Pass, out to 20 feet of water and nearshore wrecks. But also York Key to Redfish Pass and Pine Island Sound, and then from the south of Matlacha towards Cape Hayes and into Charlotte Harbor towards Ponce Park. And these are the locations right now you should be being fished. Now, in these locations, it's as simple as drifting with the wind and looking for free-jumping fish and pods that are rolling on the surface. Now, when the rainy season gets here and the water might change colors and be dark but cooler, there's some great current, the Peace River, the Caloosahatchee River, the Chatham River, and Lostman's River, and from Buttonwood Bay to the Barron River, all the feeder creeks that dump out from US 41 into the Middle Bays. And in the wintertime, most bridge passes and intercoastal docks and seawalls throughout the region at night will hold fish, and you will get opportunities, but they're not as thick as they are at this time of year. And a lot of times, you don't fish the common areas where everybody's fishing these fish. There's a vast variety of fish around. I'm fishing some areas down south where the guys are fishing the common spots for tarpon, but I'm watching plenty of swim by me, and I'm just simply snook fishing, not even fishing at these fish. So think outside the box. I've got a couple pics of some tarpon releases by Captain Corey McGuire to the north, and that's what he's got going on right now, fishing the outer beaches up in the northern end of the region. Now, on the inshore side, the redfish. Coon Key to Rabbit Key grasses fishing the outer Gulf Islands on the last half of the incoming to the first half of the outgoing along the mangroves, Deadwood, and Oyster Bar points. Now, a lot of the redfish right now are small, 19 to 24 inches, but once you find them, they're schooled up, and it's a fun bite on light tackle. The easiest way to find them is by simply using cut baits on a knocker rig, whether it be shrimp, ladyfish, and pilchards, but you can also use bucktails, tipwood shrimp, or soft plastic shrimp and 4-inch paddle tails on an 1/8 ounce and 1/4 ounce jig head, or simply fan casting gold and silver spoons. Like I said, a lot of the fish are small, but once you find them, they're schooled up. Now, on the offshore side, the red groupers. Captain Corey McGuire reports from Stump Pass to Fort Myers Beach. The red groupers seem to be coming off the spawn and starting to scatter out. He's telling me the depths he has located them in is right now about 85 to 115 feet to locate them. Cut baits like herring, squid, and sardines are working well, but also bucktail jigs with squid and vertical type jigs have been working to cover more water. Once you cover water with the artificials, anchor up, drop down cut baits, and here's some fish that were just caught up in the northern end of the region by a guy who likes to watch the show and had me sit at this table at the CCA banquet up in Punta Gorda a few weeks ago. Thank you very much, Joe. Now, also the cobias. Indian Key to Wiggins Pass concentrate on fishing most noted wrecks and artificial reefs by anchoring up with live baits like pinfish, herring, grunt, but you can drift across these areas looking for fish on top. 350 degrees around the structure, up to 50 yards around to locate groups of fish on top that can simply be sight casted with a live bait, artificials, bucktails, swim baits, and eels, And I got a prime example of another cobia that we just caught up in the northern end of the region by fishing with Captain Corey McGuire. Weather looking good. We got easterly winds all week. Might get a little west. Not as bad this weekend. Get out and get you some fish. And remember, get mom fishing.
All right, thanks. Great report from the Bell Southwest region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can hotspots from the Southwest region. He says inshore trout, Lossman's River to Pavilion Key, fishing grass and potholes in 2 to 4 feet of water using topwater plugs, popping cork shrimp, or soft plastics on a jig head. And then offshore, Kingfish, Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass, 65 to 90 feet of water using live sardines, blue runners, free lined, or slow troll them seems to work best.
You already said, get mom fishing.
Get
at
mom
the end there.
fishing.
I love it. Thanks, Ronnie. Okay, now let's all bow to the king in the Casa Vieja Southeast region. And of course, I mean Captain Jimbo Thomas.
King sounds pretty darn good, but no. Hey, everybody. Well, you know, we do have no shortage of tarpon here in the Southeast region. We've got resident fish that we can find year-round, but then in February through June, we have a push of migrating tarpon. Now, all of the inlets and their adjoining beaches, those are tarpon hotspots, as well as the deeper holes and the lit bridges of the Intercoastal Waterway. Now, their feeding patterns do change with the seasons, and right now a silver dollar-sized live crab is the bait of choice. And then in the winter months when the shrimp are running, a live shrimp is going to be your best bait choice. Other popular baits are live pinfish, mullet, topwater and surface swimming lures like a Rapala Magnum, jigs, soft plastics, and flies. Now, tarpon tackles, typically 12 to 20 pound spinner tackle or plug casting tackle. You want to use 60 to 80 pound fluorocarbon leader, and also use a circle hook when you're using live baits. Now, if you're fishing in the inlets and around the bridges, the best tarpon fishing is going to be in the early morning and then late in the afternoon and into the evening. And in the inlets, look for color changes or tide lines, or for fish rolling up on the surface and marks on your depth machine, and then drift your live baits or your artificial baits through that area. Now, on the inlets, any tide can be good. You just want that water moving. Then around the bridges, the fish will usually be feeding along the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. And this is also the time of the year that schools of migrating tarpon can be found on the oceanside flats from anywhere from Government Cut south to Angelfish Creek. Those fish can be baited with live crabs or with fly tackle using crab pattern flies. Now, the average size tarpon in the Southeast region is generally in the 40 to 80 pound range, but 100 pound or better fish are not uncommon. Now, I got a photo here, and this is obviously not a tarpon. This is Katie Vernon with her dad, Captain Harry Vernon, with a nice permit that was caught on a live crab intended for a tarpon. So they are often a bycatch when you're tarpon fishing. Now, not going too far from those tarpon, there's been some good snook fishing going on in the inlet and also around the lit bridges and docks of the ICW. Now, most of these bites are going to be on the live baits. Herring and pinfish are favorites, or whatever bait you can find in your area. You want to drift the jetties and ledges of the inlets using a Jupiter rig, which is a weighted rig to get your bait down deep. And the best fishing is going to be in the evenings, preferably on the outgoing tide. Now, if there's no live bait around, try bouncing flare hawk jigs along the bottom or trolling Rapala Magnums along the jetties and the seawalls. Now, around the bridges and lit docks, drift your live baits or work the artificials through the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. Now, moving offshore, after a 4-month closure, grouper season opened last week on May 1st, and it does appear to be working because a lot of the guys fishing for groupers are catching them. Now, in the deep water, black grouper along with a few gags are being caught on live baits. You want to fish over reef and wreck structure in anywhere from 90 to 250 foot water. Baits of choice are pinfish, blue runners, grunts, and speedos. Fish them near the bottom. Use a long 80 to 100 pound monofilament leader and anywhere from an 8-0 to 10-0 circle hook, depending on what size bait you got. And you want to put enough lead on there to hold the bottom. Now, on the Thomas Flyer, we typically drift over those wrecks, but if there's light current, anchoring up is another good option. Another great way to put some grouper in the box is by trolling deep diving Rapala 20 and 30 Magnums over the reef from Hawks Channel on out in the 15 to 40 foot range. And with those lures, you want to troll around 4 knots and use 30 to 50-pound tackle. And when you do get a bite, keep the boat moving forward. That'll help pull that grouper out of the reef. And if by chance he does get you back in the reef, turn around, get the boat back on top of him. In most cases, you can work that fish out from the bottom. Or you can do what we do, put on the mask and snorkel and go manually pull them out of the reef. Now, the bulk of the grouper caught in the last week have been anywhere in the 10 to 25-pound range. Now, I got another photo, and this is a big gag grouper caught aboard the charter boat Seahawk, which is down in Miami, and it was estimated at around 50 pounds. But he was caught the day before the season opened, so they had to let him go, and I've been trying to catch him ever since, but to my knowledge, he's still out there.
All right, Jimbo, tell me about the blackfin tunas.
Fishing for blackfin tuna has been getting better by the day. Tunas have been hitting live herrings, pilchards, and sardines. Fish them under the kite or flatline them anywhere from 120 to 200 feet of water. Most of these tunas have been in the 20 to 30-pound range. Been catching them on 20-pound tackle, 30-pound fluoro leaders, and circle hooks. They've been biting throughout the day, but first thing in the morning and then late in the afternoon, just before dark, is when they're going to bite the best. And we've been struggling for bait lately, but if you can find enough bait to live chum with, shouldn't have any problem getting some of these nice blackfin tunas.
Thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the Casa Vieja Southeast region. Inshore, looking for nighttime tarpon and snook in the inlets and around the lit bridges using live and artificial baits. And then offshore, fish the edges of the Gulf Stream late in the afternoon with live baits in the 100 to 200 foot range for a mixed bag of blackfin tunas, sailfish, and kingfish.
Good luck on that grouper hunt, Jimbo. That should be
Yes.
fun. All right, it's always tarpon time in the Carmen Keys region. Coming up next on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. But first, Dave Ferrell is holding it down over at the CCA workbench for Academy Sports Rigs and Techniques. Dave, that looks
we got
nice.
some beautiful, look at this. Look at this box of flies. I've never had anything this pretty.
Pick a fly.
Isn't that
any
nice?
fly.
Rick's going to tell us what to use these things for.
All right, we'll see
All
what we
right.
can do.
When and
We'll
where.
be back.
They're
When
all
and
tarpon
where and
flies.
how.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats. Always in the game. Sirius XM Marine. Weather, fishing info, and channel surfing. And Daiquiri Deck. Sarasota's favorite place to meet.
Titan and Titan XD Diesel from Harbor Trucks has America's best truck warranty, 5 years, 100,000-mile bumper-to-bumper, and can tow up to 12,000 pounds. Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of Titan XD and Titan in Florida, starting at $29,000. Harbor Trucks is conveniently located halfway between Tampa and Naples. Harbor Trucks, the place to buy.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower four-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable four-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower four-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle. When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Well, Dave, we're here at Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques at the
Yep.
CCA workbench. And
Correct.
Dave, as you know, harpoons. I
You love
them.
this tarpon. You know, he's the Silver King, and he was crowned the king because of, you know, his aerial maneuvers, his size, and his stubbornness. You know, he's a really hard fish to catch. It was, for the longest time, it was not how many tarpon you caught, it was how many tarpon you jumped, because you don't catch all the ones you jump, that's for sure. But we're going to talk tonight about using artificial baits for tarpon, because we've talked in the past many times about what kind of baits to use and how to use the baits, but never really talked about using hard plastics and flies and stuff. So we're going to talk about that tonight. So, you know, when you're out fishing with a lure, what's your first step you make as far as the lure goes? Or
That's a good question. You know, first thing, Dave, is you got to consider, if you're going to be throwing a lure, one, you got to be able to hook the fish. So that means you got to have a rod like this Ricky Red rod, the heavy action. It's a 7 foot. We also make it a 7.5 foot. The key is that I've got a lot of backbone here that when I actually hook the fish, I can really fight the fish. It's got a light enough tip so that it'll throw this Rapala long cast a long way.
Right.
We load it up with the 832 suffix. It's got a, what is this? What does that say?
that's a Komodo, SS.
Yeah.
That's a big, it's a big reel.
So the Komodo, I got 2 size Komodos I use, but the key is that, you know, we fish at all times of the year.
Right.
You know, we get fish that get in shallow water during the winter time, in January and February. Those fish have a tendency to gravitate to some real dark colored bottom in the Florida Everglades. And with that being said, you have to adjust the way you think throwing lures versus if you were fishing at a bridge this time of year in the Florida Keys.
Right.
You know? So obviously in tannic colored water, we throw a lot of chartreuses. We throw jointed lures, which they swim very shallow.
So they can see him very easily.
They see them very easily. But then we also will adjust as those fish move into deeper haunts as they're staging for their migration, whether it's a bridge, it's a river system. What we'll have a tendency to do, and my favorite color is just like the Stu App tarpon fly, which is orange and gold. This seems to be a great color, chartreuses.
Yeah.
You can throw them with the single hooks in the new
I was about to ask
series.
you, because a lot of guys use a circle hook on their baits now, because once they get in, they're not coming off. And this is the big craze now, is putting circle hooks on your lures. I mean, single hooks on your lures. Is that paying off as tarpon as well?
The inline hooks work very well. The thing that I like is that the fish will sometimes hit the lure, but then because it doesn't have the treble hooks, you might miss him, but when you finally do get a chance to hook him, the lure seems to stay in a lot better with the single hooks, and certainly a lot more friendly at the boat.
Right.
The thing that you got to remember too, Dave, is as the migrations kind of slow down, we also have a variety of lot of smaller fish. So you're going to adjust your size. You can go to a twitching mullet like this one in the pilchard color, single hooks again. This lure, I find, if I just throw it out and just reel it back and let it just do its vibrating thing, sometimes I even hold the rod tip up so that I can make a V-wake on the surface. I get lots of bites fishing that.
I was about to ask you, do you alternate your speed from fast to slow for different times of the year or different situations?
Well, certainly when they get away from the spawning part and the worm hatches, then you do adjust. As the mullet come down, you might change to a different shape. They like silhouettes, you know. So twitching versus just reeling, that really just depends on what the bait are doing at the time. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about the food that you'd use for fly fishing. This Scientific Angler box is a box that I use.
It's beautiful.
You know, Dave, and the cool part about this is that we have flies that have weighted eyes like this chartreuse toad.
Right.
I use that on the ocean a lot of times when the current is high around a bridge. The palello worm hatches what all the fish migrate to the bridges for. This is what a little palello worm would look like. And we simply double hand strip this. We don't want it to stop. It's just a skimming along the surface using.
So that worm, you're actually moving that worm pretty good. Huh?
But 2-hand strips so that the worm doesn't stop. It just skates across the surface.
I gotcha.
And then obviously we have some stuff weighted that we use in high current, dark water. We call this dredging with a sinking line. you're anchoring the boat, and you're throwing in the current 90 degrees and letting it sweep. That's how we fish around the bridges. But realistically,
So you don't even have to see them in that instance.
we just burn through 5 minutes
I
of time,
gotcha.
and the fun sucker's in my ear saying, "We gotta go!"
All righty, man.
All right, but
I
Brie-
tell you what, that's a lot of chartreuse in there. I know
love
what I'm going to throw.
chartreuse. The brighter the sky, the brighter the fly. Remember
There
that,
you
fellas.
go. I will.
Brighter the sky,
The brighter the fly.
brighter the fly. All right, catching a tarpon on fly in the Florida Keys sounds like a perfect weekend to me. And Captain Randy Tao in the Garmin Keys region is going to take us there. Go for it, Randy.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, here in the Keys Garmin region, we got tarpon right now. It's kind of full swing, but there's not a lot in the backcountry, which means they're going to be around the bridges. And also, like Rick's saying, talking about fly fishing and giving away some good secrets right there. You know, the guys on the ocean side live for these couple of months to have these migrating fish in clear water coming down the outside shorelines. And it is just a dream come true when you cast that fly out there and you see a 6-foot tarpon eat it. There is nothing better than that, especially if you've never seen it before. It's pretty exciting. Even Rick and I get excited now, you know, in 30 years of doing it when we do that. So it's what's going on right now. Guys are doing it. The tarpon tournaments are getting ready to start happening at the end of the month. So you've kind of got a combination here. And the bait of choice right now around the bridges is still mullet. And there's several boats that are around the bridges selling mullet, so it's not too hard to get them if you don't have a cast net or you don't have any. And then also crabs. You know, when we move down toward Marathon, 7 Mile, Bahia Honda, those guys really like the crabs down there best, and that's their main bait to catch tarpon with down there. And up at this end of town, we like our mullet. Now, you may go to the bridge tomorrow and never have a tarpon bite, and the guy next to you might catch 2 or 3. It doesn't really mean you're doing anything wrong. That's just the way the tarpon fishing's been this year. So if you want to catch one, you really just got to go do it. And I was talking to Captain Vinny Biondelletti. He's a guide out of Bud and Mary's. Every time I see him this year, he's hooked up. And I've got a photo of a nice tarpon he had the other day jumping next to the boat.
Oh, man, that is a great picture. All right, Randy, what else you got for us inshore there, bub?
Triple tails. You know, these things, you can't underestimate a triple tail. They're a lot of fun, and they're usually pretty user-friendly. So if you see one and you make a good cast, he's going to cooperate. He's going to bite it. You're going to want a small, maybe a 1/4 ounce or less jig head with a piece of shrimp, and throw it right on top of them. They're not going to swim too far out of the way to eat it, but they will if you get it up close to them. They're pretty aggressive when they go to bite it. Now, it's nice when you see them on structure, like things floating or markers, but sometimes they're just floating in with the tide. So you want to look around when you're out in the edge of the Gulf or the park boundary area, because these triple tails will certainly float on the surface, and you can see them from a good ways, especially their white bellies, and that's what stands out that kind of gets your eye. And you just want to be ready. A light spinning rod is a lot of fun, and the fly fishing guys take advantage of this as well, because they're a great fish to catch on fly. A buddy of mine, Mike Kennedy, I've got a photo of him. He lives in Pompano. He trailers down to Flamingo area quite often, and he was down there over the weekend with some buddies, and he got a net full of dinner.
That looks good.
Yum.
All right, speaking of dinner, let's go offshore. You got anything?
Yellowtails. You know, it's been months now, and the yellowtail bite is still going on strong. I did it today. From 70 to 100 feet seems to be a pretty consistent depth. And even if you have a moderate current, they've still been biting. You want to be patient. That's really the key. You know, the fish are there. Sometimes you get too aggressive, and you start fishing, and you push the fish down away from you, so it's hard to get them up to you. If you give yourself some time, let that chum start working, start throwing over some small scoops of horse oats. That's what we use to enhance our chumming. You're going to see that little ball of oats turn yellow, and that's when the yellowtails are in it, and that's when you want to get your bait in the water, because they're going to be a lot easier to catch that way than if you just throw it out there and you hope for the best. You want to drift it back, and when you get a bite, reel as fast as you can to get that line tight. And that's just what we did a couple of days ago. Last year, you remember Lisa Jenkins. She won our fishing contest with a stay down here and fishing with me. I have a photo of her and her husband from a few days ago. And also, Brandy Metz, again, fishing with Davy Jones on the Munster at a square grouper with a stringer full of yellowtails.
Man,
Nice.
looking good. All right, speaking of groupers, tell me about it.
The black grouper season opened May 1st. I didn't realize everybody was looking for a grouper sandwich, but the water was packed with people catching groupers, and they got into them really good. Live grunts is my favorite bait, and you want a pretty stout rod because these groupers will they'll send you down if you're not hanging on. And I've got a couple of photos. One, Captain Paul Ross on the Relentless boat out of Bud and Mary's, very well known for catching sailfish, but don't underestimate him when you need to go catch a grouper or two. And I've also got a photo of Captain Victor Franchini out of Key Largo. He is a grouper guru with his angler, Baxter Troutman, with a 49-pounder.
Whoa.
Nice.
That's some nice grouper. All right, Bub, thank you so much. Great report from the Garmin, Florida Keys region. We're going to go and take a look at his hot spots. Captain Randy says inshore, snook fish the rising tide around the islands and the flats in the front of Flamingo. Also fish the shorelines on the first 2 hours of the falling tide. And then offshore, yellowtail, anchor in 70 to 100 feet and start chumming. Be patient. Wait till you see the yellowtails before you start fishing, Brie.
All I saw was sandwiches
Sandwich.
the whole time. All right,
know.
let's see what the Florida Keys has to offer when it comes to upcoming tournaments, shall we?
Yes, please.
Okay. Special flies, accurate casts, and a bit of luck are the recipe for winning the Loop Golden Fly Invitational Tarpon Tournament May 19th through the 22nd in Isla Mirada. Anglers must use a tournament-furnished tippet not greater than 16-pound test. At the Skipper's Dolphin Tournament, May 31st to June 1st in Key Largo, prize monies are given to the top 6 teams, including $20,000 to the first place team. In the Big Pine and Lower Keys Dolphin Tournament, June 7th through the 9th, anglers contend for over $35,000 in cash prizes and awards. A $20,000 cash prize is to be awarded for the largest dolphin caught over 50 pounds. Female angler teams compete for the highest aggregate weight of 3 dolphin fish in the Ladies Dolphin Tournament, June 8th in the Upper Keys. Cash and prizes are awarded to first through third place finishers and for the largest dolphin weight. Find information on all Florida Keys tournaments by going to flakeys.com. Ooh la la, that's a lot of tournaments going on.
Yeah, it is.
All right, seeing as we're talking tarpon, we all know that catching one is a pretty big deal and means you can win big in the star competition. Size doesn't matter, but you must catch, photo, and release with care to win $10,000 in prizes from Minn Kota, Hummingbird, and TH Marine. Star begins May 25th, so make sure to get registered at ccafloridastar.com. Hey, I know that guy.
Every
You know that guy
species.
too?
Yeah,
Every
I do.
species, CCA.
Man, we can get some CCA money. Woo.
Oh yeah. All right, up next, we're seeing what this Mother's Day weekend will bring if you're on the water in the Central East and East regions, and we will be speaking with a special guest from Dolphin Fish Research Program. So stay hooked, and we will be right back. Try to roll.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Swift, Silent, Secure, Bass Assassin, and Saltwater Assassin. The best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. Garmin, join the club. Kubota, find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of new and used car and truck inventory in Southwest Florida. Our used vehicle inventory goes through a 120-point inspection process performed by certified technicians. Exclusive to Florida Insider Fishing Report viewers is our Peace of Mind Harbor Truck Warranty. If you don't see what you're looking for, give us a call and we can get it for you. Go to harbortrucks.com and click on the Florida Insider Fishing Report tab.
Real Legends Performance Clothing. Everything you need to be comfortable on the water all day long. Keeps you cool, dry, and protected from the sun. Durable performance technology at an unbeatable value. Shop anytime or go to reallegends.com to find a Bell store near you.
I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere, and there's no place I'd rather be. I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere, and time don't matter to me, 'cause I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere.
And welcome back. And as you can see, joining me is Dr. Wesley Merton of the Dolphin Research Program. And Wesley, you know, you guys got a lot of great things going on when it comes to dolphin research and tagging. So why don't we just get right into it?
Yeah, absolutely, Captain Murphy. You know, thank you so much for having me on to talk about the Dolphin Fish Research Program. So the Dolphin Fish Research Program is the world's largest fisherman-driven investigation into the life history, movements, and population dynamics of the common dolphin fish, also known as mahi-mahi, dorado, or dolphin. And since 2002, more than 5,000 anglers have tagged and released 25,000 dolphin fish throughout the region. The program's also worked with 20 different fishing teams to deploy 37 satellite tags on adult fish. And those fish were tagged and deployed in the Florida Straits, off South Carolina, in the Bahamas, and throughout the Caribbean Sea. So truly a phenomenal effort from all those different fishing teams. And this program is truly, led by recreational charter and small-scale artisanal anglers throughout the region. And it basically entails them, catching small dolphin fish and tagging them with our plastic dart tags, and then reporting recoveries whenever they occur. And over the 16 years of the program, Florida anglers alone have generated 147 in-state movements, 12 recoveries to South Carolina, and 78 recoveries between North Carolina and the Mid-Atlantic Bight, showing their northerly migration along the U.S. East Coast. And Florida tags have also been recovered down in the Greater and Lesser Antilles, showing that this truly is a highly migratory species.
So I got a question for you. A lot of this stuff is coming out of Florida. Who's any guys that I might know that are tagging with you, involved with your program?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the key things I want viewers of the Florida Insider Fishing Report to know is that anybody can get involved and make a huge impact. Case in point, Captain Jimbo Thomas and Rick Thomas, the Thomas Flyer, they've tagged and released 2,544 dolphin fish through the years, of which 30 have been recovered, with some dispersing as far as Dominican Republic and up the U.S. Eastern Seaboard. So simply a phenomenal effort. And angler participation in our program is vital to our overall research on dolphin, because when anglers go out and they catch dolphin and they tag one, they're establishing a trip report for our program. And that information can be used for different biological and ecological and economic studies relative to dolphin, and their importance for recreational charter and small-scale artisanal anglers that participate in our research in the Caribbean Sea. So if you want to get involved, visit dolphintagging.com for more information. You could learn about the latest news and updates about our program. You can also request a kit. And please be sure to also visit the shop and purchase a program tee to help support what we do. And you can also make a tax-deductible donation to the official 501c3 of the program, known as the Beyond Our Shores Foundation.
You know what? I'd say that just about covers it. Guys, these programs don't exist without fun, so either make a donation, go buy a t-shirt, go buy a kit, whatever it is that you need to do, because we need to make sure that we keep track of what's going on with the mahi-mahi, right, Brie?
Exactly. What a great program. Thanks for coming in and letting us know about that. All right, it's definitely tarpon time in the Bell's Central East region, and Captain Jim Ross is on FaceTime to give us the jump on the season. Hey, Captain Jim, what's up?
Hey gang, I'm doing good. We've survived the attack of the love bugs. Now we're going to hopefully get some attacks from these tarpon. We're really super excited because we're getting ready to kick our tarpon season into high gear here in the Central East region. Guys down from the Vero Cove all the way through Sebastian and the Spanish House are going to be looking for, those tarpon rolling, chasing those bait pods. And, other good places to look are Patrick Air Force Base, Playa Linda Beach all the way up to Bethune Beach, and actually right at the inlet at Ponce and at Sebastian are all great places. So in my Bell Central East region, there's a lot of places you can catch tarpon. Live greenies, pilchards, pogies, all of those things are really good for tarpon during the summer months. Mullet seem to be a little better in the fall and winter months. Briggs, you want to use some 60 to 80 pound Suffolk fluorocarbon leader, and then use some 20 to 40 pound Suffolk mainline. And I'm personally a fan of monofilament line because it stretches. And when the tarpon decide to go launch toward the stars or cartwheel or do backflips or whatever they like to do whenever you hook them, that mono really helps. And we put about a 7/0 or 8/0 VMC 7385 circle hook right through the nostrils of the bait fish in most cases. Slow troll them or drift them around and just wait for that positive hook set. I've got a nice tarpon here that my son, Captain Justin Ross, got here recently in the Central East region. We're looking for more of these fish to come in any day, and we're really excited about it. Now, staying offshore, but not really staying offshore because the king mackerel moved in on the beach this week. It's really cranking up, especially from Port Canaveral all the way south to Sebastian right now. Now, Bryson Wright is a buddy of mine. He reports really good numbers of kings while fishing from his kayak just north of the of Sebastian Inlet by the Spanish House. Now, he says the best thing to do is go out and jig up some live pilchards or live greenies and run them back on a wire stinger rig for the king mackerel. But you can also strip these baits out and pull them behind your sea witch, and you can actually troll them. And that's a really cool thing to do, but it can be a little difficult if you're doing that from a kayak. So Bryson says if you have a pedal kayak, it's a whole lot easier than it is if you've got one that doesn't have pedals to make it move. Now, swinging inshore, redfish is pretty solid this week. All up and down the beach, this is where we're getting our bigger bull reds. And New Smyrna right now, I mentioned last week that the bite was really good on pinfish up there. And over the weekend and through this first part of the week, we've had another good report of pinfish in this area. Now, down to the south, they're hitting croakers and they're hitting pilchards and greenies better than they are the pinfish. So it kind of depends on where you are in my region. You want to rig these on a standard bottom rig. Most of our redfish right now are running 34 to 45 inches, and that's usually about 15 to 35 pounds. And I've got a picture here of Paul Tipton from New Smyrna Beach, who used a pinfish off of one of the New Smyrna Beach piers last week to get this really nice 47-inch redfish.
That's a nice
Now,
one.
my last species is black drum. And the drum bite in the Indian River is getting better this week, and also in the Mosquito Lagoon. So if you're in Hallover Canal, you can look for some of those bigger ones. Around the Clinker Islands, between Hallover and Oak Hill's really been hit. You got to hit those islands right on the outside points, and that's where you're going to find them. And then all over the flats, so Tiger Shoal, and even some of the areas down by the Cucumber Island in the South Mosquito Lagoon, you're going to find the smaller black drum tailing. So right now, live shrimp, fish bites on a jig head is working really good. You can also put some cut crab on like a sliding sinker rig. There's a bunch of ways to catch drum. Now, most of our drummen are running 12 to 30 pounds, but a few of those drum can reach 40 pounds at times. And I've got a photo here of Cheryl Whitman, who was fishing with me the other day with one of the fish that we caught together while we were out there black drum fishing.
Dude, that's a good one, man. That's a nice black drum. That was a bass drum and looking like that guitar.
Bass drum.
Yep.
We're bringing the boom.
Bringing the boom. All right, Jimmy, thank you so much. Great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from your region inshore. He says black drum near area bridges. Use cut crab, live shrimp, or fish bites in those flavors on the jig head or sliding sinker rigs. And then offshore, king mackerel in the near shore waters just north of Sebastian Inlet. Troll sea wedge, strip combos, or live pilchards on our stinger rig.
I believe you know what fish bites taste like.
I do.
The flavors, I mean.
It's so delicious.
Yeah, you ate one time. That was good.
I did.
You did. All right, if you're gearing up for a good, yes, you did. If you're
What
gearing
was
up for
I
a good
thinking?
time on the water in the Fish Bites East region this Mother's Day weekend, then listen to what Captain Mike Holliday has to say about the fish bite.
Hey, Brie. It's that time of year. The first of the tarpon are migrating out of the Florida Keys. They're starting to flow into the region. So places like Big and Little Mud Creeks, the channels that are leading into Harbor Branch and the moorings area, the Loxahatchee River up around the Boy Scout camp, and the South Fork of the St. Lucie River. They're all starting to see their summertime populations of fish and the resident fish that are mixing with them. There's been a few schools of tarpon pushing out on the beach right now, but the best stuff won't start for another 3 weeks or so. Right now, it's like the best action is around the inlets on the outgoing tides. You can pick an inlet, drift a live mullet, or fish the north side of the inlet, looking for those schools that are posting up there late in the day. Up in the rivers, look for rolling fish or pitch a saltwater assassin, Houdini-colored 4-inch sea shad. Throw that right at the spot where the fish rolled, let it sink, reel it back slowly with no action. If you feel a little tick, set the hook. That's the bite. You can also pitch a live mullet or slow troll them around the areas that you're seeing fish. Average tarpon on the beaches right now is going to be like 60 to 100 pounds. Inside the river, it's more like 10 to 60, but you could catch fish at the 100 pounds or more. I got a photo. That's Craig Walgreen with a tarpon he caught last week. He caught that with Captain Chris Britton of Jensen Beach, and that fish ate a live mullet. The other thing we're starting to see is a marked increase in mullet pushing towards the inlets on the inside. And that's got the snook following the food as they move towards the inlets for their summer spawn. So they're all kind of moving there together. The key right now is to find a slot fish or over slot fish on those mullet schools. Now, there's a lot of small fish, but there are a few big ones in those mullet schools. Wherever the mullet are holding, that's the place to be. So places like Taylor Creek or North Bridge in Fort Pierce, Sandstrip Park in Stewart, the A1A Bridge in Jupiter, the Ermine River in Palm Beach. Those are all areas where the snook are posting up before they move to the inlet for the spawn. If you're on the water at dawn, you can work the seawalls and docks with topwater plugs or a saltwater assassin dye dapper in the mullet or Papa Smurf colors. By 8 o'clock, it's time to switch to a live 7 to 10 inch mullet on 60-pound fluorocarbon leader and 6.0 VMC tournament circle hook. Pitch that against the wall. You'll get the explosive bites you've been looking for. You can also find some good fish on the beach just outside all the inlets, usually to the south side of the inlets. Average snook right now is 5 to 15 pounds.
All right, well, let's go ahead and go offshore, Bub.
Well, grouper season opened May 1st. The bottom diggers are finding good action on the northern end of my region, from Stewart all the way up to Vero Beach. There's still some fish around the reef in 80 to 120 feet of water and around the 8-mile reef off Stewart. But the better concentrations of grouper right now are in that 160 to 190 feet of water. If you're going to fish off of Fort Pierce, be sure to stay away from that closed area to Ocalina Bank. For baits, pretty hard to beat a pinfish, a threadfin, or a grunt, live or dead. Put them on the bottom and, on 60 to 80-pound tackle, 100-pound fluorocarbon leader, 9.0 VMC circle hook, and just enough weight to hold bottom. Most of the fish being caught are black or gags, but there are some snowies coming off the push-button hill right now, and there's been some genuine red snapper in those same areas. So keep that in mind because you have to release those fish. The average group right now is 10 to 20 pounds. I got a photo there. That's Randy Kraft from Edgewater. He caught that nice gag grouper on the Little Adam charters out of Fort Pierce, and that fish ate a live pinfish. The other thing, May is pretty much the single best month for targeting kingfish in my region. The fish are spread out from Fort Pierce down to Boynton Beach. There's fish on the offshore bar out of Fort Pierce, on the 6-mile reef off Stewart, on the Loran Tower Ledge off Hope Sound, and on the reef off Jupiter. Most of those fish in that range are like 12 to 25 pound type class. The big fish seem to be holding to the south in 150 to 275 feet of water off southern Palm Beach County. So right now, if you can find the Spanish sardine schools off Palm Beach County, you can find all the kingfish you want. You can slow troll or drift with a live or dead Spanish sardine, a pilchard, a blue runner, a goggle eye, even a mullet will work. Put them out on a wire stinger rig or a Palm Beach rig. You can also troll a double hook ballyhoo or rigged ribbon fish and do pretty well. Be sure to stay out of the way of the commercial kingfish boats right now. And when you're trolling anything, make lots of turns. Seems like you get that good kingfish bite every time the boat changes direction.
All right. Well, we always got to have a bass report. So what do you got for us this week?
Well, it's starting to look like summer on Lake Okeechobee, which means you want to get an early start and fish the school bass bites on the north end of the lake around places like Horse Island, Third Point, or even out in front of Buckhead Ridge. The water levels on the big lake are just under 11.5 feet, and the school bass have basically pushed out of the marsh and are focused on shad around the outermost grass lines and points in like 15 to 20 inches of water. I was talking to Captain Mike Shellen of OkeechobeeBassFishing.com. He's telling me you can throw a chrome and blue or a white and blue topwater plug or fish like a shad-colored Bass Assassin 5-inch shad or an all-white spinnerbait and you just throw them at those school fish and you'll catch 10 or 15, maybe even 20 fish before 7 o'clock. But then as that sun gets up, it starts to heat up. you want to move to those isolated clumps of bulrushes on the outside edge of the grass. You want to flip them with a creature bait like a skunk ape in that watermelon red glitter or the green pumpkin and chartreuse tail color. That's been really hot color all week because the bluegills are bedded. Anything with chartreuse in it right now is working really well. That's where you'll get your big fish bite. The big numbers are coming on live shiners, fish along the points. You'll have to kind of move a bit to find a fish, but once you do, you should be able to rack up double digits of bass on shiners. Average bass right now, 1 to 3 pounds, fish to 7 pounds being caught. So, Okeechobee may be low, but the fishing isn't slow, man.
All right, great report from the Fish Bites East region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots. Mike says inshore, jumbo Jack Crevalles are schooled up on the beach. From Jupiter to Fort Pierce, throw fly poppers or topwater plugs. And then offshore, the afternoons are good for blackfin tunas in 200 to 350 feet of water off of the southern Palm Beach County. And then chum with live pilchards on 30-pound leaders.
Okay, we're seeing what the Discover Crystal River Northwest region is holding next on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, but I see Dave holding some newness over there at the CCA workbench for new products.
Pick up something real
More
quick.
like hear
I wasn't holding anything yet.
I can hear you.
We got some rod holders, actually. They hold stuff.
They hold stuff.
Yeah. So
right,
I don't think they hold Brie, though.
No, thanks. We'll be back.
They're only 70 pounds.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. For all, for less. Soft Science, Supreme Comfort Footwear. Real Legends, exclusively at Bell's. Okuma, Inspired Fishing. Discover Crystal River, Florida. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
How do you aim a 36-yard shot with a 30-yard fixed pin at a 15-degree angle with a 7-inch holdover without moving a single pin? Easy. You get one of these. Zero, the auto-ranging digital bow sight from Garmin.
So we're here at the CCA workbench, Dave, and we talk about new products every week.
Yep.
And you know what? I think I'm going to start, if you don't mind.
You go ahead.
You know, because it's tarpon season, I just thought early in the season like this, it'd be really cool to talk about some different fly line tapers by scientific anglers.
Right.
So when you're an advanced caster, what you need to understand is this is the Scientific Angler series. This is called the Mastery series. And if you notice here, Dave.
Not for me.
Yeah, exactly. On the bottom, that shows you what the taper is like. So what it does is the 30-foot weight forward section, what it does is it's a longer taper. It's designed for guys that are really good at being able to carry a lot of line. But if you're a guy that maybe potentially needs a little bit of help, then they also make the saltwater taper. And what I mean by little help, you can tell by this diagram here on the bottom. So when you go to a tackle store and you're looking at all the different fly lines, understand that this saltwater taper is weighted a little bit more forward with less running line in the front. You can see the difference in the two lines. Get a good picture here of how they're different tapers. There's a much different taper for the Tarpon Mastery. Now, moving on, the Grand Slam is on days when it's blowing 25. I think I shared this with you. Yeah, what we have here is it's really heavy. It'd be like having a golf ball in the air in the end of a pair of tube socks. So it really punches into the wind. So if you're standing out on the ocean and you're struggling to get the boat, get the line out 25 or 30 feet, you might want to try this one. It's called the Amplitude. This really works. And then occasionally, Dave, you might run into a situation where you got some spooky fish or it's in real clear water, so you can buy the Sonar Titan, which is what I use for when the fish potentially could be seeing the fly line and has a clear tip. The last 15 or 20 feet of it is clear.
I got you.
So there's a little 101 on scientific angler fly lines. When you go to the shop, just check out the diagram on the back or ask one of the sales assistants. They'll get you right.
I would definitely need some assistance on those. All right, next we have from TH Marine. This is the Z Launch launch cord. And what this does, I go fishing by myself a lot while I bring my little dog, but she doesn't help me launch the boat. And that's what this thing does. It helps you launch the boat. You put this on your I-ring on the front of your boat, and then you attach that to your winch there, your winch clip. And when the boat leaves the trailer, this thing stretches out real nice and doesn't jerk the boat around or jerk anybody who's holding on to this thing. Yeah. Exactly. So, it eases the launching process for when you're by yourself, especially.
Does this come in a variety of lengths?
Yes, it does. It comes in 10, 15, and 20. So,
nice.
It'll handle up to, a pretty good sized boat, actually.
Bungee cord for your launching of your boat.
Correct.
Love it. What else
Next
you got?
we have, these are the Band of Anglers. These are called, we had the prototypes on here a while back, but these are the brand new finished models of the Dart Spin. These were designed by Patrick Sebille. And, what I like about them is they're just very versatile. You can rig them in a lot of different ways. They're weedless, and they have that nice little propeller on the back, the little spinner blade, the willow spinner blade that adds a lot of flash and vibration. You can fish that thing like a jig. You can fish it close to the bottom. You can throw it into a mat of crap and drive it across the top. They're just very, very versatile. They're super plastic on here that's very hard to break, and it comes in, they only sell them in 2s and 3s because of that, because they'll last a long time.
So you got about 20 seconds?
Well, these are the Rod Runner reel racks, and what's really great about these things is they come in singles or triples, and I've got one that I just bungee corded to the front, zip tied to the front of my boat. What's really cool about them is you mount these blocks. And then once the blocks are mounted, you can remove or replace these rod holders. You can put 2 and 3 on there. You can mount these blocks on the ceiling. You can mount them on the wall and put your rods in the garage or on the ceiling. And what's really good about them is they come off real easy, and you can put multiples or 1s or 2s or whatever you like. And I really think these are cool. Rod Runner rod racks.
We're done talking about
RodRunner. You get a rod holder. Okay,
everybody
the Discover
gets one.
Crystal River Northwest region is all about tarpon these days, and so is our captain, Jeff Hageman. So, Jeff, enlighten us on how awesome our season will be.
I tell you what, these are one of my favorite fish to chase. I spend 3 months out of the year strictly chasing them. You couldn't ask for better game fish out there. They pull like nothing else. They got great head shakes, gill rattle and head shakes, jumps, long searing runs on the drag, great fish. Can't say enough about them. The small juveniles can be caught in residential canals and springs most of the year, but our major migration happens in the summer months, and it's happening right now. And that's the best time to target the bigger fish. You can catch them around bridges, beaches, passes, grass flats, from April through about August. Spinning gear, plug, fly. Rick was just talking about fly. Great live baits or crabs and thread fins. They're some of the favorites. Pinfish also work really well. As far as flies go, lemon dropped on sand bottom and cockroach and purple and black over the grass flats works really good. As far as artificial goes, DOA Bait Busters is probably one of the top ones out there. etiquette with tarpon fishing. There's a lot of people running around the beach, a lot of people looking for fish. Take your time, know where you're running, look for other anglers out there, be kind of courteous to your other anglers, and a stealthy approach will definitely help you get a bite. So running down the beach at full blast won't really help you. Kind of spend some time. Trolling motors, push poles are very helpful getting that quiet approach. If you don't have one of those, just kind of drift in on the fish, kind of they'll pick a line they're going to head down the beach as they're moving down the beach. And if you can add that up and line that up and get everything right, you can drift into them and make a great cast. And I've got a couple photos here, one of Kevin and Becky with a nice West Coast spoon caught with me. And I got a nice jump shot beside the boat a couple days ago. I just wanted to put that up there. Pretty fish right there.
Yeah, it's looking good, bub. What else you got for us?
I'm going to try something a little different with the report this week and try and cover the whole state real quick. In Apalachicola, Captain John with JB Charters out of Apalachicola reports that right now the triple tail has moved into the bays. You want to look around, floating flotsam, any kind of buoys, just Cajun thunder or a popping cork with about 6 or 8 inches of fluorocarbon leader, 2-aught circle hook, and a live shrimp is the best bet for that. As far as the redfish go, they're mostly hanging in the deep water marshes and edges and the oyster bars and feeding on live pinfish. You want to use a knocker rig with a 1/2 ounce lead with about 8 to 10 inches of fluorocarbon and that same 2-aught hook. Moving down to Yankeetown, Captain Stacy reports good fishing in Inglis and Yankeetown right now with a wide range of species, massive black drum, big sheep's head. Everything's been fighting really good right now on that incoming tide. 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, a number 2 hook, and cut mullet have been producing upper slot-sized redfish around the oyster bars west of Inglis in the bars and anywhere from 5 to 7 feet of water. You want to look for points that have good moving water. Moving down to Cedar Key, Captain Jimbo Keith of Saltwater Assassin Fishing Charters reports a good inshore bite right now, and he says the key is looking for clean water. The east wind in the morning, he said once you find that clean water, that's where the best trout bite's been. Green Moon and Bass Assassin lures have been working really good. The Spanish mackerel showed up on the Seahorse Reef, and chumming them has been working really well. And in Crystal River, Captain Mario Costello of Tall Tail Charters at a plantation reports a good snook bite right now on the mangrove shorelines from Homosassa. He's using a glow jerkbait on a 5-aught worm hook and fishing the potholes. And I've got a nice redfish photo here of some CCA Life members.
Yeah, baby, look at that redfish right there. Oh.
Moving down south, Clearwater area, Ozona, Captain Jimmy Huddleston of Captain Hud reports a really good beach bite right now. The strong east wind, most of the larger snook have moved in the pre-spawn areas around the jetties and points, major passes. Large sardines, free-lined, has been the bait of choice, and oversized redfish are right on the beaches with them, so keep an eye out for them. Dollar-sized pinfish have been working the best for them. And in Tampa Bay, Captain Jason Lineberger reports a great snook bite, too. He said they've been really chasing threadfins and greenbacks free-lined. And I've got a couple photos here of some nice snook.
Yep. All right, man. Well, we're gotta go. So we'll get to the kingfish next week. Hag, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the anytime sunscreen and mosquito repellent hotspots from the Northwest region inshore. Snook showing up on the beaches and the passes. Use sardines for bait. And then offshore, groupers over the rock piles and ledges, 55 to 85 feet of water, using pinfish for bait.
Rick, you did your happy dance.
Yeah,
I haven't
man.
seen that in a while.
I might have pulled something.
I think you did too. All right, every week I get more and more excited for this, Rick, so let's talk about the Harbor Trucks giveaway. Harbor Trucks is partnered with Casa Vieja Lodge, and 2 lucky winners will get a 3-day, 4-night trip to come fish in Guatemala with Rick and I at Casa Vieja Lodge. This will be an experience of a lifetime that you won't want to miss out on, so make sure to head over to our website at FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com to enter. It's going to be
And you can
an
see all the
amazing
special
trip.
pricing right now on Titans and all different kinds of makes and models.
Yep, that's a good partnership
check
right
it
there.
out.
All right, up next, we're seeing what the captains have to say about your weekend in the Northeast and Panhandle regions, so stay tuned. And remember to keep up with our crew and be up to date on all things fishing in Florida. Make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala, another great day. Startron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Titan and Titan XD Diesel from Harbor Trucks has America's best truck warranty, 5 years, 100,000-mile bumper-to-bumper, and can tow up to 12,000 pounds. Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of Titan XD and Titan in Florida, starting at $29,000. Harbor Trucks is conveniently located halfway between Tampa and Naples. Harbor Trucks, the place to buy.
Oh, there it is.
You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Find Florida's soul and discover Crystal River. Explore warm Gulf waters, spring-fed rivers, bountiful lakes, and fantastic fishing. Dive into adventure and enjoy the only place in the world where you can swim with the manatees. Treat yourself and your family to outdoor fun, rich history, and a relaxed coastal lifestyle. Discover Crystal River, Florida.
Hey guys, Captain Rick Murphy here from the Florida Insider Fishing Report and Sportsman's Adventures. And guys, I want to tell you a new product that's come out to me. It's called SiriusXM Weather. And why I like this so much is think about how safe it is now to have radar in a technical poling skiff. You know, we're so much more exposed when you're in a little skiff. One, you only have a boat that does 35 to 40 miles an hour with a 70 horsepower. The other thing is that you don't have a T-top or a salon to run into when you have severe weather. So now with having this subscription-based service, I can actually monitor exactly what these storms, these thunderstorms are doing as they approach the Florida Keys and in Florida Bay while I'm out tarpon fishing. The reason why this is so important to me is knowing the level of intensity. Is it just a little rain or is it serious? Does it have lightning in it? Does it have real heavy rain, how much wind it has, and also which way it is moving is seriously important to me. So keep in mind that you don't have to have phone signal. It's a subscription that comes from a satellite, and it's really simple. We can just monitor exactly what the storms are doing. So for technical poling skiff, guys, we're gonna be a lot safer on the water, and I'm sure with this little antenna and my chart plotter, we can simply keep our customers a lot safer. So guys, don't forget, if you want to know more information, just simply go to SiriusXM.com/marine and you can find out all the information you need about SiriusXM Marine Weather.
Absolutely, all right.
All right, Tommy knows about the SiriusXM Marine Weather.
Yes, he does. We're FaceTiming the Strike Zone Northeast region with Captain Tommy Derringer. Are you looking forward to the tarpon season, Tommy?
I am, guys. I'm excited that we're talking about tarpon tonight. You know, I'm sure like Rick, tarpon's one of my favorite obsessions. And I can't wait till our big fish start to show up here in the Strike Zone Northeast region. Now, I have seen a few fish along the beaches starting to show up, but it needs to warm up just a little bit more for our big migrating fish to really show up in better numbers. Now, we have a great tarpon fishery here all summer long and into the early fall months. We get some big migrating fish right along the beach, feeding on pogies during the summer, and then they switch over to the mullet during that fall mullet run. One of my favorite ways to catch tarpon here is to fish behind the shrimp boats. When the shrimpers dump their bycatch, you can sometimes find those tarpon in an all-out feeding frenzy. And it's one of the few ways we actually get to sight fish tarpon here in my region. Now, you can also fish for tarpon around the pogie pods along the beach. I like to use a 7 to 10-aught VMC circle hook, depending on the bait size, and I'll free line or float a live pogie around those bait pods. And you can also fish a bait under the pogie pods, and sometimes that's where you're going to get the most bites, being down a little deeper. Now, Dave from Strike Zone, he told me that he carries a rig that he calls the no-brainer rig, which is basically a circle hook with some lead welded to it. He says it's really been effective for fishing under those pogie pods. Now, those beach tarpon, they average 60 to 100 pounds. Some fish are even up there in that 150-pound class. Now, we have a good population of smaller tarpon in the canals throughout the region as well. Right now, there's quite a few 10 to 30-pound tarpon in the Flagler Beach and Palm Coast canals. A big live shrimp, mud minnow, or a finger mullet under a float works really well for those smaller tarpoons, as we call them. And I've got a picture here that Josh Berea took of Captain James Canelos from Hightailing Fishing Charters with a tarpon that just shook his fly, as they so often seem to do. James hooked this fish under the Bridge of Lions. And guys, we should start to see some tarpon around our bridges throughout the region here in the coming weeks as it starts to warm up. Now, staying inshore, we've got that early morning negative low tide this weekend, and that's my absolute favorite tide for redfish this time of year. You can make your way into the back of just about any of the creeks throughout the region, and you're probably going to find some redfish tailing, backing, and feeding on small shrimp and minnows right along the shallow banks and the oyster bars. Now, I like to toss the Saltwater Assassin Elite Shiner on a 16-ounce weighted hook. When I see those fish, it's a perfect size. It makes a really soft presentation, and it mimics those small bait fish and shrimp to a T. And it's also a great tide this weekend to bust out the fly rod. A well-placed fly will also work really well for those fish, as you can present it with little to no splash. And those reds, if they're eating really small baits, you can easily match the hatch with one of those little flies. Now, speaking of fly-caught redfish, I got another picture here. This is Matt Iafredo with a low-tide redfish he caught on the fly rod on a recent charter he did with me in the north end of St. Augustine. Now, moving offshore, I got to talk dolphin again this week. The bite, it's still pretty good throughout the region. Most of the fish are being caught near the edge of the Gulf Stream, but some of the bigger fish are coming from a little deeper out, a little bit more to the east. I spoke to Captain Jacob Hardy, and he tells me they've been fishing in that 1,000 to 1,500 feet of water due east of St. Augustine. Jacob said the weeds have been a little scattered inshore, and when they get out there deeper, they've been looking for a little warmer water with lots of flying fish and other signs of life before they really start fishing. Now, I've seen quite a few fish come into the dock this week, and it seems like the average fish is in that 15 to 30 pound range, with some in that 40 pound range as well. With all the dolphin around, there's been a few marlin around as well. I spoke to Captain Jason Hadges, and he tells me the blue marlin have been showing up as they like to eat all the dolphin that they can get. Now, Jason's been running at least one and sometimes two Moldcraft wide range lures this week, along with his typical dolphin setup. Now, Jason says those marlin will pass up those smaller dolphin lures in favor for those bigger profile Moldcrafts. He's been starting to the south of St. Augustine in about 300 to 400 feet of water and making his way north with the tide, basically looking for the same things you would when you're targeting dolphin. And I got one last picture here. This is Captain Jason's mate, Clay Crocker, with the nice blue marlin they caught aboard the J-Hook earlier this week.
All right, thank you so much, Tommy. Great report. As always, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Strike Zone Northeast region. Inshore, he said the redfish in the creeks throughout the region early in the morning low tide. Look for the backing fish chasing small shrimp and minnows. And then offshore, dolphin at the Gulf Stream east of St. Augustine. Look for the weed lines and the flyers, the flying fish.
All right, the entire state is jonesing for the beginning of Silver King season.
Me too.
And the Yeti Panhandle region is no exception. What time is it, Captain Deneen?
Hey, Brie, it's the favorite time of the year. Some people call it Christmas time, but I call it tarpon time.
There we go.
And that season is soon to be here. Fishable numbers show up in the eastern parts of our region during May, and the fish will be throughout the region by late May and early June. These fish are migrating, and the numbers are there June and July, but they start thinning out in late July. But we do have resident fish well into October when the cold fronts encourage them to move out of our area and go back down south. During the migration, the fish swim east to west beyond the second sandbar and they can be sight cast with either fly tackle or spinning tackle. Fly tackle is very popular to the east of Destin in the Mexico Beach and Cape San Blas area, while spinning tackle is mainly used west into Alabama. Either way, whatever tackle you choose, they're hands down the most challenging and funnest fish to catch, in my opinion. Migrating fish are mature 75 to 100-plus pound fish, while the ones that kind of move up into our bays and hang out typically are the 30 to 50-pounders. Sometimes you get the smaller ones. As I mentioned, tarpon season is my favorite time of the year. They're here only for that short time, and I charter exclusively for them June and July. So if you want to get onto one of these Silver Kings, give me a call. There's a photo of a typical tarpon we caught last summer off the Panhandle beaches. That was in the June-July time frame, and that's a pretty standard-sized migrating fish for us. Staying inshore, the speckled trout are doing very well throughout the region. May is probably one of the best times of year to pick up some of the biggest fish that you're going to see year-round. Just this past week, I know several 25 to 30-inch fish caught from Choctawhatchee Bay and Santa Rosa Sound. I spoke to Lucky Chucky of Lucky Chucky Charters. They picked up a 27 and a 29-inch fish this morning. The biggest fish are often caught using live bait, with croakers, pilchards, and menhaden being the baits of choice. Also, large topwater mullet imitations like a skitterwalk are great for those big trout. But if you just want to catch the numbers, a shrimp under a float, a midwater twitch bait, or a soft plastic on either a worm hook or a quarter-ounce jig head is a bait to go with. The fish, the grassy sand flats in 3 to 5 feet of water, particularly flats outside of the bayous and canal mouths, or flats with an abundance of mullet. That's where you're going to find the trout. Plenty of pretty trout were caught this week, and Captain Troy Forbes sent me a photo of one that they released. He's fishing out of Walton County with 38 guide service.
All right, let's go offshore, bub.
Rick, last week we spoke about dolphin fishing, and this past week I heard a lot of really good reports of dolphin catches off the Panhandle coast. Captain Justin Leake over in Panama City reported quality dolphin in the 15 to 25-pound range were caught 50 to 60 miles off Panama City in the vicinity of the squiggles. And just like Tommy was mentioning, where you find those dolphins, you're going to find the blue marlins. And I also heard of a nice blue marlin coming from that same area. So obviously the surface conditions are there for holding bait and the predators that feed on them. Closer in, the fads and any floating grass are likely to produce some chicken dolphin. Usually the smaller dolphin are closer to shore. But anywhere you see large mats of sargassum, floating debris like a log or a pallet, grass lines, you're likely to find dolphins. So either troll some ballyhoo around the structure or free line a live bait on spinning tackle. And then finally offshore, if you're out there and the topwater action is not going your way, do some deep dropping. There's been some really good catches coming in lately. It's a great backup plan. That's catching golden tilefish, snowy grouper, and yellow edge grouper. What you want to do is use enough lead to hold bottom. 5 to 7 circle hooks baited with cut bait like squid, bonita, or ladyfish. Clip a light on top of the rig to act as a visual attractant in that deep, dark water. Snowy groupers and deep water snappers are going to come off hard bottom. The Gulf pipeline running basically from Louisiana to Tampa is a great place to look for those guys in 600 to 700 feet of water. The tilefish prefer the muddy bottom, and areas north and east of the spur in 900 feet of water are usually productive for the tilefish. Drifting area, keeping your lead on the bottom. When you get a good bite or a good loaded up rod, mark that waypoint for future reference. All those deep water fish are extremely good eating. So deep dropping is a great way to salvage a slow day offshore.
All right, Pat Tar, thank you so much. Great report from the Yeti Panhandle region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots. Pat says that this weekend you should certainly go inshore beaches of Shell Island for redfish and pompano in the gully and the Spanish mackerels along the outer bar. And then offshore, king mackerel bite has turned off of Destin. Slow troll, cigar minos, and herring near the sea buoy and over nearshore structure.
Okay, StarTron Central West Regioners.
I know I get you when I see them.
You do. We know you've been waiting, so we're bringing you your captain next, only on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Suffix. Always use the best line. The IGFA. Fish for the world. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And Bells. Everything you need to live life local.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO Offshore.
Life out here tastes sweeter with the freedom to roam at 40 miles per hour. The power to haul whatever needs hauling. And best-in-class acceleration and handling with cargo. The new gas-powered Kubota Sidekick is purpose-built for speed, fun, and to get the job done right. Now, get the new Kubota Sidekick for $0 down and payments as low as $196 a month.
Find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com.
Are you tired of fighting foul odors in your car? The easy-to-use Auto Odor Eliminator from Starbright uses the power of chlorine dioxide to eliminate even the worst smells. From cigarettes and pets to fast food and sweaty kids, this EPA-registered chlorine dioxide technology fights the odor-causing bacteria, the source of the stink. Don't just cover it up. Eliminate it with the Auto Odor Eliminator from Starbright.
Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of new and used car and truck inventory in Southwest Florida. Our used vehicle inventory goes through a 120-point inspection process performed by certified technicians. Exclusive to Florida Insider Fishing Report viewers is our Peace of Mind Harbor Truck warranty. If you don't see what you're looking for, give us a call and we can get it for you. Go to harbortrucks.com and click on the Florida Insider Fishing Report tab.
Today's Power Pole Tip of the Week is about the power poles and its unique design, which allows us to deploy them and get them out of the way. So let me explain to you what I'm talking about. When I come home after a day of fishing, my 10-foot blades are sticking up a little bit too high in order to get them inside of the garage. By using the foot switch that's mounted up on the bow of the boat, I simply push it down so that I can get the proper amount of clearance and back in the boat, and here we go. Another way that sometimes the power poles are in the way is simply we deploy them going through creeks with overhanging limbs or even under bridges. Now, you guys, every once in a while, you love to fish out of the back of the boat, and so do I. And sometimes guys feel like, oh, well, that power pole, it's a distraction for them. Well, guess what? We can push the button 2 times, deploy the power poles. Now they're completely submerged and out of the way until you're ready to go home. So those guys that I see at the boat show and you ask me, how do you get it in your garage? Now there's the secret, and that's today's Power Pole Tip of the Week.
And it's a beautiful thing. All right, joining us on FaceTime today to close out our last region is Captain Jeff Page in the StarTron Central West region. Hi, Paige.
Hey, you guys, you're looking good. You know what? In the StarTron Central West region, we have no lack of tarpon fishing, nor lack of ways to catch them. We catch tarpon from north part of my region in upper Tampa Bay, down to the Skyway, Egmont Pass, all the way down to world-famous Boca Grande Pass. The best fishing starts heating up right now. So from now through end of July is the peak time to catch the migrating tarpons. Now we have year-round resident fish, but that's another topic. I'm going to focus on what's going on right now. Lots of fish in Boca Grande Pass, a few fish showing up in Egmont Pass, and scattered fish up and down the beaches. Look for that to improve each day. Guys are finding small groups of fish, but more broken up along the beaches from Venice south to Boca Grande, and then at nighttime around the bridges and passes in Longboat Pass, as well as New Pass in Sarasota. And then there's been a lot of fish on the Skyway Bridge in the east side of Tampa Bay. As we get into the end of May, look for big schools of fish along the beach, not to mention a lot of fish in Boca Grande Pass. A lot of the baits we use, live crabs, smaller blue crabs, even past crabs, thread fins, which are readily available on the beach. You can catch them with sabiki rigs or cast nets if it's not too deep. And then in artificials, many different types of soft plastic baits will work real well. As far as fly fishing, it's not uncommon to set up on the sandbars near the inlets and throw a purple and black or a chartreuse and white. If I recall, Rick, you and I one day were out there just outside of Anna Maria, and you had a really nice hookup on a purple and black fly on your fly rod. Real quick, we've got our first annual Pirate Tarpon tournament. It's going to go from Fort Myers to Tampa, and it's going to be June 1st. For more information, you can get in touch with England Marine or www.piratetarpontournament.com. Got a photo tonight of a good friend of the show's, Captain Bo Johnson, with a really nice tarpon he got the other day with one happy client.
Cool photo.
All right, what do you got? You better go fast. I need some snook.
Staying inshore, it's tough to leave the snook out of the game. He's along the beaches. He's in the inlets. He's around the sandbars and oyster bars in Bull Bay, Turtle Bay, and then also the Fort DeSoto area, east side of Tampa Bay from Bishop's Harbor, south to Terracea. It's better to fish him on the high tide outgoing, which occurs in the afternoon this week. Live filtered bait of choice. Got a snook photo tonight of Mr. Daiquiri Deck, Troy Seifert, and his son Jameson with a big snook they got with me the other day.
All right.
Rolling offshore blackfin tuna. The tuna bite remains strong, 20 miles on out. Look for the birds, look for the bait spools. You're going to find the tunas. Captain Jason Stock recommends having a live well full of pilchards and then also having some plugs for if you can raise the fish up. Got a blackfin photo tonight of happy clients with a bunch of blackfins with Captain Jason Stock. My last photo tonight, permit. Rick, the permit fishing due to the mild winter has been off the chain. Anywhere from 5 miles on out, any artificial reef or wreck pile is going to work. And all he's doing is he's using his Rodan trolling motor to keep him off the wreck, setting up with free line crabs, a couple split shots on 2 of them to keep them down, a couple free line. He's having double and triple hookups. My last photo tonight is Brian Sears with a big permit he got with Captain Jason Stock.
All right, Paige, great report tonight, and looking forward to whatever you got for next week. Keep us abreast of what's happening in those tarpons as they go in and out of the pass. All right, dude?
All right, you guys have a good week.
I like your studio starting to take some good shape. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Daiquiri Deck Central West hotspots. He says inshore snook. Fish the afternoon outgoing tide this week in Stump and Gasparilla Pass with live pilchards or threadfins. And then offshore permit. Lots of fish holding on the wrecks and reef in as close as 5 to 15 miles out. Free line pass crabs are going to be the best bait for those.
Hey, you know, 3
What?
captains on FaceTime tonight. They've really set their studios up pretty nice.
I know.
Our remote
It looks
studios.
like a little mini.
I love it. All right, we'll be right back with next week's species, so stay hooked. Who
Who's
dat?
What? We got a driver in the
Titan and Titan XD Diesel from Harbor Trucks has America's best truck warranty, 5 years, 100,000-mile bumper to bumper, and can tow up to 12,000 pounds. Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of Titan XD and Titan in Florida, starting at $29,000. Harbor Trucks is conveniently located halfway between Tampa and Naples. Harbor Trucks, the place to buy.
Master your most challenging offshore experience with confidence and ease with Yamaha Helmmaster. Precise, intuitive control on the open seas. Unrivaled ease for maneuvering and docking in port. And now SetPoint adds 3 new dimensions to boat control. Maintain boat position with fish point, or a position and heading with stay point, or a heading while you drift with drift point. Yamaha Helmmaster. Now with SetPoint. Complete digital control for today's larger offshore boats.
For the bass that thinks it's a bulldog. For the walleye that thinks it's a freight train. For the tuna that thinks it's a torpedo. For the tarpon that thinks it's a tarpon. You need the mono that thinks it's a braid. Suffix Advance. New advanced mono with HMPE braid molecules for strength, abrasion resistance, and low stretch. Suffix Advance. The mono that thinks it's a braid.
Do things. Be sane. Don't fritter away your time. Create. Act. Take a place wherever you are.
Make sure to tune in next week because we are talking tuna.
I love the tunas.
The tunas.
Sushi for your
Sushi in our mouths. All right,
Yes.
Rick, we're talking tarpon. I know you've caught some big ones. Tell us your favorite tarpon story.
Oh, I'd say that the first time I went to Homosassa, I was with Al Pfluger Jr. 1984. A fly box holds 24 flies. We went through 2.5 fly boxes in one day.
Wow.
If they weren't a world record, you pop them off. You can't imagine how many flies that was.
Oh, man.
It's crazy
Dave,
amount. In one day, all those bites.
What?
your best tarpon story. Quick.
I hooked a dead one, you know.
That's a great story.
That was an
You're always good
accidental
for a good
thing.
story.
He was dead as
Thanks
a doornail.
for tuning in, guys. We hope you have a
I
great
snagged it.
weekend.
Oh.
Take your moms fishing. Happy Mother's Day. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.